shows up and he's, oh, he just exited.
Starting now.
Okay.
And
My name
wait a
is
minute.
Dr.
Our timers, one of them will hold up a sign when you have 1 minute left and 30 seconds left, and then 15, and then stop.
Yes, Dr.
Unfortunately,
cannot see.
Unfortunately, I will not be able to see that because
Oh dear, that's,
I'm not.
well, I'll tell you. Okay,
Okay.
okay, so you can start with opening and closing statements.
Okay. Let me start now. Oklahoma House of Representatives. And I'm running with a passion because I believe that we as a district should be unified. I believe we're all the same. I believe that we can promote one another in a way to help to keep our communities as safe and as peaceful and as beautiful as they are now. I don't believe in dividing us into factions, into small groups. We are just alike. And I believe the representative who holds this seat should be able to say it clearly, with passion, and be able to affirm one another. I don't believe in trying to divide us. I am a pro-education candidate, and with your vote, I will start right away with the first bill that I write on November the 4th, because I am a pro-education candidate. A candidate should have a record of some type of activity that shows you're promoting either the safety of our students, trying to preserve our funding for our school systems. There should be some evidence. If a person does not have any evidence of supporting education, then it's difficult to see them as a pro-education candidate, whether they're running for the first time or whether they've already been in office. I'm pro-business. I believe in promoting our small businesses around town. I believe in working to create legislation that's going to help to promote these small businesses so they can prosper. That also for medium-sized businesses, and trying to bring corporate America into Oklahoma. Because when we bring corporate America into Oklahoma, then we will have incomes that would be greater and more productive, and that our state actually will be able to increase taxes in the right way. That is, bringing more corporations.
Okay, your time is up. Thank you. Now, Trish. Can you hear us, Trish?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. I'm Trish Ranson, State Representative for House District 34 here in Stillwater. Ran for office in 2018. My path to that started with the teacher walkout, and didn't really understand fully what the teacher walkout would end up being, but it turned out to being a run for office, and took it as a, if I leap, the net will be there, and ended up having a net and making some wonderful friends and some loyal supporters through the 2018 election. The last 2 years have seen a lot of gains, but also a lot of stalemate. And I believe that Stillwater wants their representative to work across the aisle to find compromise, to find cohesion. And I believe that I have done that in the last 2 years. I have built bridges with the opposing party. We have worked together on bipartisan issues. There are issues that, yes, I have pushed against because I believe that they didn't involve enough people in our community to make sure that all life is better. And so that is what I have been doing these last 2 years. And then the pandemic hit. Pandemic changed what the idea of my job was, and immediately reached out to the officials here in town and our nonprofits like Meals on Wheels and Our Daily Bread to make sure that services—
1 minute, 1 minute.
To make sure that services could continue even in the midst of a pandemic. Reaching across to our Chamber of Commerce to make sure what are the issues with our businesses? How are we responding? What kind of information they need to be successful. And I've tried to bridge that between the state level and the local level.
30
And-
seconds.
Thank you. And to make sure that we have a path forward. I have a vision coming up with the next several years, and I want to make sure that I can do the best
15
that
seconds.
I can for Stillwater. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll start with the questions now. And Velda, I can't see the signs very well when you hold them up, so you
Okay.
got to hold them.
Well,
All right.
would it work better if I just said it? Since Dr. Means can't see it? If I just said it?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. That'll be okay. All right. Okay. Okay. We'll start with Trish. Why do you want this job, and what strengths and experience do you bring to it?
I think being a representative at the state level means that I bring a voice of our community to the state level. And so that is the reason that I want this position. It is a position of service, and it is one where it takes a lot of time making sure we're listening to constituents, but also listening to different entities across the state and making sure that we can find compromise to go forward. I believe that as I guess the reason why I am a teacher, and I'm able to juggle a lot of different aspects as between student issues and parent issues and administration issues. Those lessons I learned in the classroom work well with grown-ups too.
1 minute.
That is why I feel like I am well prepared for this position.
Okay. Thank you. Dr. Means.
Yes, thank you. Well, in the last 2 years, we haven't had one single bill that has promoted education to help control usurping of funds from education, or a bill relating to support for security. Since we haven't had a very effective stream of bills coming out of our district, I want to get into the fray, and I want to be a very proactive and the type of representative who will be productive. I do have plans for education, I have plans for small businesses.
1 minute.
1 minute.
Yeah.
I have plans for things to make a productive district. Our district is not productive right now, but also more importantly, I want to be a voice of peace and calm in our community, so we do not degenerate down to what we see in San Francisco or in Portland, Oregon, or in Seattle, Washington. We need a unifying voice, and I'll be that unifying voice. I will work for the people, I'll listen for the people, and I'll go and represent them well.
30
With your
seconds.
with your vote, I'll represent you very well in early voting, absentee voting, and on November the 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this question will start with Dr. Means. What are your feelings about the state requirement for absentee ballots to be notarized when many states do not require that requirement?
I think it is so important for the security of our constitutional republic to ensure the integrity of the ballot, without question. President Barack Obama said in 2012, Representative Nadler, who's a congressman, he has said in 2010, and the New York Times posted an op-ed, an editorial in 2012 as well, stating that it's problematic when you really begin to expand mail-in
1
voting.
minute.
So I do believe that we must do everything we can to protect that ballot. We can do things to ensure that that the early and absentee ballot is continued, but we must be able to safeguard the integrity of our vote. That is so important, again, for the maintenance of our constitutional republic.
30 seconds.
Is that
You have something more?
No, thank you.
okay? Trish, do you want me to repeat it?
No. I
Okay.
would agree that the security of our voting system is very much important. We need to have confidence that our voting is secure and that our vote counts. When it comes to our absentee ballots here in Oklahoma, we have a lot of different safeguards in place that other states do not. And the Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court had said that the way the statute is written, a notarized signature was not necessary.
1 minute.
The legislature changed that and made sure that it was necessary, but did leave a safeguard of a copied ID for absentee ballots in the wake of the emergency proclamation that we are under. I believe that there are better ways that we can do it. I think that the election board is in need of reforms, and this pandemic has shown where we have our deficits. And I think that we can go forward. We can create new procedures that are just as safe, but have less barriers for voting. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, this question goes to you, Trish. State question 805, if passed, would reduce sentencing for nonviolent offenders. What programs would you legislate? Example, rehabilitation and education, which will ensure that these individuals will not be repeat offenders.
You know, state question 805 is a really, it's a tough state question. We definitely need criminal justice reform, and it has not been happening in the legislature. And so therefore we have the petition to put it on the ballot. There are necessary programs that would help with drug abuse treatment, with domestic violence and anger management, and things like that that will help folks become not repeat offenders. It will, in state question 805, would end the adding of time and making time twice and 3 times. And the sticking point of violent crimes versus nonviolent crimes. Not all nonviolent crimes are without violence. And so that is something that folks need to be really thinking about and educating themselves when they vote. At the end of the day, whenever the vote is, the legislature has
30 seconds.
Has opportunities to create either reform or for sentencing or for making sure that we have more valid sentences going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now, did we start with Trish last time or Dr.
Yes.
Means?
Yes.
Okay, so Dr. Means, we're going to ask you a question. You haven't answered it. Yeah, you didn't answer it yet, right?
No, I haven't.
Okay, go ahead and answer it.
Yes.
You want me to repeat it?
Yes, when you're talking about programs that help people not become reoffenders, any program that will help them to focus on personal responsibility is key. One program I'm actually forming now is called Man to Man. And that is trying to get a group of mentors to be ready and available to reach out to men who want to overcome anger management. But the phrase personal responsibility is key. We don't want individuals to become career criminals. We do want to allow our district attorney to be able to make a judgment on whether how far someone needs to be held responsible for past things. And I personally think we have an excellent district attorney.
1 minute.
Right? But the key to it is we can have many different programs. We can have accountability partners. We can have mentorship programs. We can have many different things. There are a lot of civic organizations around who I'm sure will be more than eager to jump into the fray and to help out. But personal responsibility has to be the key to help people not become repeated offenders, because we don't want crime to pay. We want individuals to be productive.
15 seconds.
And so, like the program that I talked about, Man to Man would be an excellent program to get things started. And I know I can do the job along with other things. That's why I'm asking for your vote.
Okay, thank you both. Okay, now,
next one would be for Dr. Means.
Dr. Means.
Yes.
In your news press answers, you said your opponent voted against a bill that helps identify pedophiles. I
Yes.
believe you were referring to House Bill 2591. My glasses are fogging up. Which requires health professionals to report sexual assaults on children. Were you aware that state law already requires these reports? Were you aware that the purpose of the bill was to fund Medicaid? And if you were aware, why were you covering up the facts?
I'm not covering up any facts. The truth
I
of the
know.
matter is that, oh, I'm sorry, did you finish your question?
Yeah, I
Yes.
finished it, but I really, it's kind of a personal attack, so I don't know if I want you to answer it or not, but go ahead.
Oh, am I answering questions? Am I offending you in some way? If I
No,
am,
no.
I apologize.
No,
What
this
it
is from
what
this
we
is
have-
from the audience. This is
Okay,
from the
what-
audience.
okay, what we have here, we had legislators who have their finger on the pulse of legislation. They have their finger on the pulse of the needs of the people. They have the finger on the pulse of education environment. And we know that there are men out there who do prey on our daughters. And it is critical that we do everything we can to identify pedophiles. We bring them to justice. We allow them to go through our criminal justice system to see whether or not they actually are offenders. And if they are, then we put them in jail. This bill was a really good way to be one more safeguard for our daughters. And if we're not willing, to safeguard our daughters, if we're not willing to safeguard our daughters, then what is the purpose? If we're not willing to take care of our granddaughters, then what is the purpose? Now, this was a very good bill, well thought out and well executed. But yes, my opponent did vote against it. And that's a part of being pro-education. Education is about our children. And if you don't protect our children, then you can't be pro-education.
30 seconds.
We have to protect our children. It was a good bill. I accurately interpreted it. And it is a good way to ensure that our daughters and granddaughters are protected. And everyone seeing this video
15 seconds.
do want to protect our children. That's why I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Trish?
I would like to speak on House Bill 2591 because it sounds on the superficial level as a really great bill, but when you look down, it's not. Number one, all medical professionals are statutorily required to report any sexual assault. That's what they do. They're required to do so. This bill put an extra added layer onto it that if a medical professional didn't, for whatever reason, I don't know, but if they didn't,
1 minute.
the medical system they are associated with, the whole medical system would lose their Medicaid funding. This is funding for children and seniors, their medicine and their health care. And it was one of those things, it was another attack on trying to peel back Medicaid in our state. I did not feel like it was a good bill because, as I already said, it was already
30
in
seconds.
statute. Of course we want to safeguard our children. Of course we want to take care of their health and safety. But when it's already being done, it doesn't need another bill to do so. Oh, and by the way, that bill passed whether I voted against it or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with Trish now. Who is ultimately responsible for the upbringing, education of the child, and as the responsible party, therefore the primary authority to making decisions regarding the child's education, the state, the school, or the parent?
Wow, that's a false choice. Honestly, as a parent, I know that it takes a village to raise a child. And I can't be everywhere and do everything for my child as they grow. I have to have trust and faith in their school community, in our church community, in our neighborhood community. And I have to have faith that our state is supporting our children as they grow and making decisions for the good of all children. Now, is the state's decision the ultimate decision? No. They work in conjunction with our parents. They work in conjunction with our communities. And we need to make sure that our state statutes are fair for everyone so that parents can make the best decisions for their children. But they have a valid choice to make because everything is fair. So it's not really an either or, it's all of us. We are all part of raising our
30
children.
seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Means?
Thank you. It is an either or. Good parents should be the primary individual to make decisions for their children. A good example is another bill that my opponent voted for in this particular case. There is currently a statute that says that parents should know what's being taught in sex education. Well, and the bill wanted to remove that section from the statute that is present in Oklahoma.
1 minute.
And so what we have here, we have a representative here that wanted to remove that parent responsibility. Parents know their children best, not the schools. Parents know the history of their children, not the institution. Parents should be the number one authority in our community. And it takes other agencies that can play a role in helping parents
30 seconds.
to be better. But parents, it is the parent that should be the primary responsibility of being the authority in a child's life, for they know them best.
Thank you.
I have 30 seconds left from my time. Can I rebut that, please?
Yes.
So here's the thing. That bill updated our HIV/AIDS standards because science has changed since the 1990s and our understanding of the disease has changed. It also updated the health standards, and these standards were okayed by the health department. I voted for that. Yes, we need our children to have as many tools in their toolboxes to protect themselves. And actually, I think it's a really great conversation starter
15 seconds.
for parents who maybe don't know how to bring up the subject. It's not that they're bad parents, they just don't know when. And so this is a really great opportunity.
Stop.
Thank you.
Can I just have 10 seconds? Just 10 seconds, please. Just 10 seconds.
No.
Please.
Let's move on.
Yes.
Make it in your closing statement.
Yeah. Yeah, make it in your closing statement, Dr.
Yes.
Means.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. What legislation would Representative Ranson, what legislation would you support and propose to reduce food insecurity for many Oklahoma families?
Am I supposed to start this one? Or is
Yes.
that okay?
You are.
We're being fair and all of
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
So food insecurity is it's a tough subject. It's something that is overbearing in our state and it's growing. And it's something that is really, really close to my heart. But it also depends on living wage. It depends on healthcare. It depends on affordable housing. It depends on smoking. It depends on alcohol, drug abuse. I mean, there's so many
1 minute.
that are involved with food insecurity that I would like to really focus on how can we bolster our local economy? How can we work with our state economy to help make sure that we have the education for updating skills so that we can get better paying jobs and therefore we can stop that cycle of poverty? And there's a lot involved in that, but we need to start picking away a little bit
30 seconds.
and start with what is in the best interest of our working families and working towards what solutions can we find there. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Means?
Would you repeat the question, please?
Yes, I will. What legislation would you support and propose to reduce food insecurity for many Oklahoma families?
I do believe one of the things we need to start doing is looking for ways to helping organizations such as organization we have here in town, Our Daily Bread, to be able to expand. fine. And then also something I really believe in is government-private partnerships, finding ways to bring resources, not just from the government, because the government cannot solve every single problem, but bringing resources together from the private sector to help to promote it.
One minute.
Also, I do believe in finding other ways, other types of organizations beyond just the type of organization like we see at Our Lady Bread. You know, I have a good friend of mine, I'm not going to say her name, but she had a passion for helping children be able to have good lunches. And so she took the initiative and she went forward and she drove a program that has been adopted by public schools. I think that when we truly sit down with a problem, I do believe we can be proactive and we can come up with solutions. But the long-term solution is expanding our economy, diversifying our economy so we can have better paying jobs, because people don't always want a handout. People want to be able to provide for themselves. And by expanding the economy, bringing more good jobs, we'll be able to help people afford to do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Dr. Means, this question will start with you. Due to COVID-19, our businesses and citizens have been struggling to survive. What economic platform and legislation would you propose to address these economic issues?
I do like what's happening, or at least attempts to try and be happening on the national stage. I am a fiscal conservative, so it's not that I'm always looking for stimulus packages to being created, but I do believe in some situations we do need to have stimulus for our communities. People in small businesses were hurt very terribly. Small businesses were shut down where the large box stores completely were open. So a company that sold shoes, companies that sold shoes could not sell shoes. But you look at the big box store, since the entire box store was open, people were able to go in and buy shoes. And the same thing could be said for small appliances and other items. I do believe we could find a way to help them, maybe some tax forgiveness at the state level, maybe some income tax forgiveness, something that can help them keep money in their pockets, because people can do better with their own money than what the government can do. And so I do believe that we do need to sit down and really discuss all of the problems, then begin to brainstorm to come up with solutions, because I know we can do this. And I'm a very proactive person, and that's why I'm asking for your vote. And because I know that if I'm elected, then I will get with the people who actually know this particular problem even greater, and I'll work on a solution with them, and we'll be able to do that work for the people of Oklahoma and the 34th district.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Ranson.
Yes, thank you. I think the hardest part of the coronavirus is this idea that treating it as only an economic crisis and not also as a health crisis. Both are true, and both are acting at the same time and having effects on our community in ways that we didn't envision and were not prepared for. So yes, it is an economic problem. The stimulus initially was a good help, but I don't know when the next one will come. And so we've kind of had to really be innovative in our approach. Businesses have branched out and done business differently and have been able to adapt and to keep going. But we also need to make sure that we are looking at each other's health, because we want as many people to survive this as possible. That's going to help our economy too. Shopping local is a great thing.
30 seconds.
There is a wealth disparity. The rich are getting richer as far as the big box companies, and our local community is needing us even more, especially with the holiday season coming forward. Thank you.
Thank you both. This is for
Trish.
Representative Ranson starts first. What legislation would you propose and support to ensure our Oklahoma veterans receive adequate health care and housing?
Yes. So there is what legislation can be done. not 100% sure yet, but that's not something that you just asked me. So the whole point of my job is to listen to the needs and to learn, and then to find where we can find solutions. I know that we have some low-income housing tax incentives in our state. And in fact, those tax incentives put together a apartment building just off Jardeau.
One
And
minute.
lovely, it's brand new, and they have housing, especially they have a break for veterans and their families to live there. Things like that is a way that our private sector can get involved and build structures that may not have been built because of state policies. We do need to make sure that our veterans are being cared for. The veteran health system has been in transition at the moment from one location to another, especially
30 seconds.
in Tahlequah, and looking at, okay, are they getting everything they need? The coronavirus has hit that population as well, and we want to make sure that we are taking care of those who took care of us.
15 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Means?
Thank you. This is an excellent, excellent question. As a veteran myself, and what we hear in the media, one of the largest issues that we have as veterans is mental health. And one of the problems in related to mental health is suicide. Well, Senate Bill 108 was a bill that was designed to help to protect what it actually involved. It actually involved in correctly certifying death certificates. And what it was designed to help to keep assisted suicide out of our state.
1 minute.
Our current representative voted no against that protection. So one of the things we need to do to help with the health and safety of our veterans, one, doing what we can to help them with the emotional issues, and keeping suicide out of our state is one of them. Another thing is making sure that our homes are adequately funded, making sure that, I know the VA is national, but what can the state do
30
to
seconds.
help with the VA delivery of health care? Perhaps we can be able to find ways of helping or assisting with the transportation to the VA clinics. This is another one of those proactive type of needs that we need to have someone who is thinking on their feet, agile in regards to bring up solutions. And that's why I'm asking for your vote, because we do need to safeguard our veterans. And veterans, I will serve you well. So I ask for your vote.
Thank you.
I have 15 seconds left on the clock from my last answer. And since he brought up one of the bills that I voted on that he didn't like how I voted, I would like to refute it.
Okay.
Senate Bill 108, questionable whether or not it would protect veterans. In fact, it had a high bipartisan opposition to that bill because the coding of death certificates would have a huge implication on insurance for everyone statewide. So that bill I voted against. Yes, you're right. But guess what? We have a supermajority in the House, and it passed, and it has been signed into law.
Stop.
May I say something?
No, we have to move on. We have to move on. Okay.
I don't have the advantage of the clock. I don't have the advantage of the clock to know how much time I have left. That's just what I'm asking about.
Okay.
15 seconds.
Well,
I forgot to tell you in the beginning to no personal attacks. Okay.
Oh no, this is no personal attack. These are legislations. These are bills.
Okay.
These are bills that she voted with. These are her way of believing she represented us. So these are not personal. So what I'm saying is, number one, it is a good bill because we have forward.
We've already discussed this, Dr. Means. We need to move on. Okay.
All right.
We have limited time. Okay, this is for Representative Ranson. I guess you go first. Oklahoma's earned income tax credit is for low income working families. Is it still non-refundable? Please explain and tell us how you feel about it.
Earned income tax credit. I mean, I've talked about that with the low income housing. Tax credits are used by the majority as a way to spur the economy by helping private investors invest in our infrastructure. The earned income tax credit is actually the opposite. It helps keep money in our everyday citizens' wallets. That has been revoked. It is not something that we use in our state. Unfortunately, with our
minute.
in the House, I do not see it coming back, but it would be a valuable tool to our citizens in order to keep the money that they earn or partial of it to actually make ends meet a little bit better. It might also help with food insecurity issues and so forth. So putting gas in the car to make sure that you can get to work. Those are all things that are necessary for everyday Oklahoma taxpayers. And it's something
30
that
seconds.
would be reinstated. Thank you.
Dr. Means.
This is one area that I will be doing more research in, but anything, any kind of policy, any type of bill that can pass into law that can help the average citizen keep money in their pockets is a good thing. It will not only help with food insecurity, but it'll help in other areas. We should help our citizens think beyond not meeting the basic needs, but also expanding as they begin to grow financially. How they can be able to acquire better homes or living
1
quarters.
minute.
How they are able to bring things into their home, how they can invest, how they may even be able to start their own business, even though it may be very, very small. But anything and any way that the citizen can hold on to the money that they make would be a very good thing. And again, this will be one of the things that I definitely will be researching and becoming more familiar with, and then coming back into the community and educating the citizens of our
30
district.
seconds.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this question goes to Dr. Means first. The city of Stillwater has committed to clean, renewable energy, as has Norman and more than 150 other cities in the United States. Some entire states, such as California, have made this commitment and tax carbon emissions for revenue to train people for new jobs and offset energy costs. What is the outlook for Oklahoma to move toward clean energy?
The outlook will be based on the administration as well as the legislature. I do believe that if we want to add a new tax to our good citizens here, then we will be compromising their financial situation. We just got finished talking about a question about putting money back in the hands of people. Now we have a question talking about taking money out of the citizens' hands. I do believe that we should look for more ways to have clean energy, but something we really need to think about.
1 minute.
If we in Oklahoma want to get rid of fossil fuels, then our state undoubtedly would go broke. Yes, but we can have a balance though. We have a balance between fossil fuels and wind, fossil fuels and solar. And I think we should do that. In fact, what we could do is actually begin to tap into that industry and try to bring jobs here to produce all the things, whether it's the batteries, whether it's the solar panels, whether not just
30
having
seconds.
the blades going through our state, maybe we can make the blades or the pedestal, or maybe the compound cement that it takes to anchor these things. There are many different ways that we can approach this particular issue, but the key to it is we have to
15
have a balance
seconds.
between the two and not think of it all or none. Because Oklahoma, once again, though, we are still dependent on fossil fuels, but we need to diversify our economy, and part of diversification
Well,
should include clean energy industry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Ranson.
Yes, renewable energy, it makes a whole heck of a lot of sense. You know, Oklahoma has a lot of sun and a lot of wind. And so I don't necessarily think that we need to pass another tax to pay for it. I think tax credits are a great way of spurring private investment. And if we want to grow our wind farms, then we have tax incentives to do so. If we want to grow our solar panels, then tax incentives would help do that. But I think that it's really
1
important
minute.
because we have it as natural resources. Now, the interesting thing about Oklahoma is that we import more oil than we export, simply because we refine it. And that part of our economy is not going to go away. But we do need to be looking forward to thinking about how we're going to navigate that when our world becomes less and less
30 seconds.
reliant on fossil fuels. So thank you.
Thank you. We talked about COVID-19 a little earlier, but this question is, please, for Representative Ranson, please comment on the pandemic situation we are in right now and how best to contain it.
You know, that is a really good question, because there is a lot of misinformation out there. And I think that when it comes down to it is, you know, personal diligence and just making sure that, you know, you wear a mask, that you keep distance, and that you wash your hands regularly. This will also help as we enter into the flu season, which will automatically compound our issues with coronavirus. So it's important that we take care of ourselves and our health, that we also our mental health, and making sure that we're doing our part as a society and finding innovative ways to support our businesses, to support our churches, to support our nonprofits, and to support our personal growth, but making sure that we are also taking care of our health and safeguarding that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Means?
Yes, we probably can remember right about the end of May that our area here had turned the corner. People were social distancing, wearing masks, and following the recommendation of our state leaders. Unfortunately, yes, we started having an influx of people pretty much from all across every corner of the state and every corner of the globe. And so we went into another phase of managing this pandemic. I think having personal responsibility of how we conduct ourselves in public is key. I believe that once again, we can get to the point where we will not have continued increases in new infections or new transmissions. As the CEO of the hospital had
30 seconds
in the newspaper, that we are in the position medically that the medical community is ready in the event there is a spread. But I think personal responsibility will be the key. I do believe doing what we can do to continue to mitigate the problem. I believe that we'll be in a good condition and continue to do well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Dr. Means.
Dr. Means, yeah. Regarding rehabilitation of prior offenders, what do you have in mind for those offenders and convicted felons whose offense may have been caused by mental illness?
That kind of goes back to an earlier question.
Yes.
I do believe support groups, mentorship programs. I do believe a number of civic groups around, including mental health organizations, can be key. We need to have these offenders, repeat offenders, to want to be able to access it. Okay. Yes, when they become a new offender or reoffended, then it's the criminal justice system that has to place them, persuade them, get into it. But what we need to do is for our young children, we need to actually kind of be a preventive mode. We need to get ahead of some of the problems, helping our children in school age, helping our parents learn how they can influence their children to value good standards from the very beginning. But those who are caught in the system, mentorship programs, coaching, mental health coaching programs, all these things are very key.
30 seconds.
Helping organizations like Wing of Hope, who also have programs to help to mentor people, doing all these different things to help to connect men, offenders, with someone who will walk with them. I do believe it's key because, once again, the term or phrase personal responsibility is key. And that's why I started the program Man to Man.
Stop.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Representative Ranson.
Thank you. You know, being the #1 incarcerated state, there will be a time where we become the #1 post-incarcerated state. And there are people in prison now with mental health issues. And when they are released, they will still have those mental health issues. Making sure that we get them to a medication program, make sure that they're on their meds, also making sure that they have opportunities for work, so that way they can have a feeling of accomplishment by working. And the support groups
1 minute.
absolutely are important. And there are people who need that support. I have a constituent who talked to me about how he has a letter writing campaign with prisoners at a prison nearby, and his men's group write to prisoners. Those are connections that we need, because our communities are going to need to be able to embrace these individuals. And if they have really served their time, then we need to make sure that there
30
is some sort of
seconds.
restoration and healing in our families and our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next question. What do you think of a gradual no, I've already asked that. I would like to know your position on public schools versus private schools.
Trish Ranson.
Representative Ranson.
Mhm. Public schools and private schools are both, they are a different of choice, and they are different in what the family would like. Sometimes that depends on what the needs of the child are. Sometimes it is for religious reasons. Choosing a private school over a public school, or public school over private, whichever that choice is that parent's choice. I would like to see going forward that our choices that our parents make for their children are more standardized, in the sense that there isn't so much that they have to give up.
1 minute.
I spoke with a parent on the door just this last weekend about how she had to put her children into virtual because there were health issues in the home. The virtual didn't work, and so she was now homeschooling. Unfortunately, one of her children has an IEP, and though that IEP is no longer being able to be serviced for that student, so she had made a choice that was best for her family, only to find out that she was missing out on things for her kid. And so I want to make sure
30
that we
seconds.
have procedures and policies in place, standards, statutes that help parents make a equal choice across the board. And right now we don't have that. We have brick and mortar versus virtual. We have private versus homeschool.
15
It should
seconds.
be more of an equal footing for all, so that parents can make the best decision for their children. Thank you.
Dr. Means.
We do not need a standardized method that's adopted by the government to dictate or to influence the decisions of parents. This is totally a parent decision. Parents have the right to make the choice if they choose public school, private schools, or religious schools. That is their fundamental right. It is their fundamental right. Now, parents who put their children in, and I'm one of them, who put their children in religious schools, they will still pay taxes. Therefore, there should be certain services that can be available to them. But I do believe that the full spectrum of options should be available, and the parents should be the one to make that decision. Which is best? Does a child have a mental illness? Does a child have a disability? Does a child have difficulty being around people that have to be able to socialize? Once again, I firmly believe that the parents should have that
30
choice.
seconds.
But not only that, I have seen very successful homeschool children, and we actually know quite a few of them in our community. I have seen very successful faith-based educational institutions,
15
as well
seconds.
as we know that our public schools is a very good program for our children. So having all these things available to parents, I think, is key, and the government shouldn't be dictating or making the recommendations or having the measuring rod.
Stop.
However, it should be the parent.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question is for
Dr.
Dr.
Means.
Means, I believe.
Yes.
What role does a school have with children who are in really tough situations when they may not have parents who can advocate for them?
That actually would need to be more specific. It really should. Um, what 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 um, what role does the school, that you say?
What role does a school have with children who are in really tough situations where they may not have parents who can advocate for them?
Okay. Well, actually, I would have to know what is meant by not having parents to advocate for them. If the child does not have a parent, that's one issue. If the child has a parent who has difficult financial situation, that's a totally different situation. If the child has an abusive parent, once again, that's a totally different situation. And in each case, hopefully there are counselors who can interact with the child and to help to assess. Perhaps services can be made available, or
One
at least
minute.
have the parent aware of the services. But the primary role of our schools is to educate our children. But there are secondary services that can be provided. They provide them with breakfast, they provide them with lunch. And that can help with the economic term that people use, disparity. But also there can be counseling to help them through the everyday interactions at school. That helps with the emotional aspect of the child's life.
30
So I do
seconds.
believe with counseling and making parents, as well as maybe more mature children, understand of what's available as far as services around, I think all those things can come together with the school to help the child
15
who has
seconds.
difficulty, when their parents are not able to do the typical functioning of good parenting.
Thank you. Representative Ranson?
You know, I think teachers do this naturally. You know, teachers, I mean, the primary point of schools is to educate. Yes, you're absolutely right. But to educate is to make a relationship. And when you have a relationship with a student, you automatically are invested in them and you want the best for them. I think of all of the students I have taught at Westwood over the years, and seeing them
1
as
minute.
their little kids or as they're grown-ups, you want the best for them. And I think teachers naturally do that. There are things that, you know, that teachers can do to advocate for students, and recommendations they can make for students. Of course, they can't do all of it because the parent is part of the equation and part of that learning community, and so forth. So there's not necessarily anything that we can do
30
statutorily
seconds.
to help that. But I do know that teachers automatically reach out to make sure that they advocate for their students. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, well, I think we have time for just one more question. And this is this is to Representative Ranson. How can we be assured that virtual charter schools such as EPIC are held accountable both to taxpayers and the students enrolled?
You know, that's a good question right now. And it's very timely. As you know, EPIC has been audited by the state auditor, Cindy Bird. Her findings were released just these last couple of weeks, and they don't look good for the managing of those taxpayer funds. They went ahead and the State Board of Ed met yesterday, yes, about it, and decided that that they were going to ask for a certain amount of money back, $11
1
million,
minute.
in fact, from mismanagement. And then going forward, the virtual school board has now looked at revoking their license. Now, this is a really big issue and something that could cause a lot of problems going forward in this next year, and a lot of instability for EPIC students and parents alike. But when it comes down to it, it's not about the model. It's not about anything other than the fact that taxpayer monies were not
30
properly
seconds.
accounted for. There is legislation already on the books that involves more transparency. I foresee more statutes or more bills this session going forward it to, which is to educate children. Thank you.
Dr. Means?
I do believe audits are very, very important. I do. Taxpayer dollars. The main thing we want to do is to follow the money. And that's almost true with everything. We follow the money, see how the money is spent. Is the money, are the funds being spent for education? Are they being spent on the children for supplies, on the technologies needed? In other words, is the money being spent on the plan that was presented to
1 minute.
And that is the ultimate way of monitoring and ensuring that the students are actually getting the benefit of the funds. We should never just simply accept the word of an entity, whether it's state run or whether it's private run, but we should be, and the organization should be willing to open up their doors, open up their books, and allowing the state actually the auditor to actually look at the books to
30
ensure
seconds.
that what they are stating they're doing, that is being done. And in this particular case, that's exactly what's happening with EPIC. Making sure there's no fraud there, and making sure that the
15
funds are actually
seconds.
going to the classroom, and therefore it's a way of keeping them accountable. And being accountable is kind of like going back to what I've been talking about all along, personal responsibility. This is now going to be company or corporate responsibility.
Okay.
That is key.
Okay, we have to
Thank
move
you.
on. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Dr. Means.
Yes, yes.
Okay, we're ready for closing statements. I believe Representative Ranson goes first.
It's 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Thank you very much.
2 minutes.
Thank you, League of Women Voters, so much for establishing this forum this evening. The 100th year of the right to vote for women is one thing to celebrate, but we also need to realize that not all women got the right to vote 100 years ago. And when it comes to legislating, when it comes to representing, we can never just say that we're doing enough. We always have to push, and we have to include those who are not part of the legislation right now. Oklahoma has a way, we have a supermajority in our House, in our Senate, and it's one thing where all voices are not necessarily heard. And I have felt like that has been my role in my strategy here in my first 2 years. I promised to engage with constituents and bridge differences and support policies that put people first. That was on my first walk card 2 years ago. And that has been my
1 minute.
I have done that. I have made good relationships with people across the aisle. I have earned respect in the House. And I want to make sure that you understand that I love Stillwater. Stillwater is my community. It is something that I am rooted in. And I've lived here for 17 years, and I do what I do because I love the people that I am in community with. So my going forward, I listen to you, I listen to others to make sure that I
30
really
seconds.
understand and I learn the issues well so that I can lead in the appropriate direction. Great things ahead, and I hope that you will vote for me on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Means.
Thank you.
Closing.
Before I start my closing, I do want to just mention that once again about the issue that was earlier. Parents should never be left out of materials exposed to their children's schools. And that just goes back to early question. But what I want to say to the good people of this district, if you want a candidate who will be proactive and who will be working hard to be effective in our district, I'm your candidate. If you want someone who is actually going to write bills, who's going to help to secure the funds for education, I'm your candidate. In fact, after being elected, if you elect me, on November the 4th will be when I start writing that first bill to help to prevent the moving of funds or shifting the funds around for education. If you want a candidate who want to work hard to try to help to diversify the economy, help small businesses, I am your candidate.
1 minute.
I'm asking for your vote in early voting, absentee voting, and on November the 3rd. And the reason why is because if we have not seen bills thus far written coming out of our district, I will be the candidate to get that job done. I will take your individual votes. I'll take it to Oklahoma City, and I will represent you well based on your values, not my own values, not my personal values, but based
30
on your values.
seconds.
Therefore, I want you to know that you want a proactive, positive candidate who will help to be a voice of calm, a voice of unity in our district. I am the
15
candidate.
seconds.
Therefore, I'm asking for your vote in early voting, absentee voting, and on November the 3rd. Thank you. And it was an honor being here with the current representative and with the host, the League of Women Voters. Thank you very much. And
Thank you
for your
both.
vote.
Thank you. And I, to my viewers out there, okay, to my viewers, you can early vote on Thursday, the October 29th, and Friday, October 30th, from 8 to 6 at the Payne County Election Blower. It's on the Payne and Crown Administration Building. It's on the 2nd floor. And you can also early vote on Saturday, the 31st, from 9 to 2.
Joanne,
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't mean to interject, but I believe the
Yeah.
location for early voting has
Yes.
changed to the Stillwater Community
Yes.
Center.
Yes.
Oh, it's still
Stillwater
okay.
on
Thank
8
you.
on
You're
8th
welcome.
Street.
We've got to be healthy and safe.
Yes.
Yeah, on
Yes.
8th Street. On 8th Street, the community center. Okay, it's on 8th Street then.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that. Same hours?
Yes.
And then
Okay.
Saturday morning, I think it's just the morning hours.
Saturday morning is just the morning. Okay, I'm not clear. I didn't know that. So,
dear.
but anyway, if you want to know, call the election board at 405-747-8350. Thank you both for participating in this. We thank the Stillwater Public Library for also hosting this with us, the Stillwater League of Women Voters. And I hope you have a good rest of the evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.